Lucas, the bringer of light, a real Christmas tale. It was December, a very cold winter in the late 80s in Saarland, my home country. It got light late and dark again early. Actually a nice time to relax, to dream, to prepare for Christmas. Just an atmospheric time that I always was looking forward to. But December in those days was supposed to be different, should never be forgotten, and had a strong influence on my later career. As part of my medical studies, we are now slowly coming to an end. I worked in the clinical year, the so-called PG, practical year, on an oncological children's ward in our university hospital. The practical year is the last phase of medical studies, the baptism of fire for practical work as a doctor. You work on surgery and internal medicine, the core subjects, and have an elective, for me, pediatrics. Yes, I wanted to be a pediatrician. As a child, I myself experienced sometimes fear for our big pediatrician, who was actually a small, nice grandfather. At least that's how I remember it. I made up my mind not to be a frightening person, floating about the corridors in a white coat and arrogant. I wanted to be down to earth, the best friend, the best buddy for my little patients. So I tried to build very human relationships with my little patients in the so big university clinic, to win their trust, to become their contact person in all things, their family substitute when there were no visitors, their listener when nobody wanted to listen, their comforter when fear and pain became too great, their best friend when there seemed to be no friend, their ally against the head nurse, their very best person indeed, the new aunt in white. In this way, I built up a much too close relationship with some of my small, often seriously ill patients, which no longer allowed any distance from me. It wasn't very professional, but for me it was the only way I wanted to be a pediatrician later. Lucas was one of my lovely little boys that I was entrusted with. He suffered from a rare form of leukemia that remains therapeutically challenging to this day. Lucas wasn't a fan of chemotherapy, but who is? But at least he always tolerated the treatments. He was my little hero, who often had to get through difficult times in the clinic without his parents, both self-employed entrepreneurs. He always said he had a personal protector, and I was very proud to be meant as this person. It happened in those days in December, just before Christmas. His parents were so busy with the pre-Christmas hustle and bustle that they were unable to accompany him in the planned cycle. Rooming in sounds good, but finds its limits, where even parents are not always able to support their children in the most difficult times. It was horrible, cruel, almost impossible for me to get into any Christmas spirit. We had various Christmas parties among the doctors, with our patients, with the nursing staff, but it just didn't want to get that Christmas feeling. So I couldn't get Lucas into Christmas mood either, like when chemo with nausea and other inconveniences were still waiting for him. Infusion should be applied again in the late morning on Christmas Eve. Our head nurse had agreed to prepare the infusion dressed in Santa Claus costume. We wanted to sing some Christmas carols in the background. When we made our way to Luca's hospital room, we realized that the door was open. The bed was empty. Where was the boy? Yes, he often ran away, mostly to the neighboring ward with the girls. So we searched the whole children's hospital, but we couldn't find Lucas. It was a desperate moment, because in the afternoon his parents wanted to pick him up on Christmas vacation. But that wasn't possible without chemo. The blood results were terrible. He had developed a fever and was supposed to stay in bed. Where was he? We all searched for him. One of the male nurses, Sebastian the vein finder, had an idea where to look for our hero. There was a beautiful chapel on the university campus. There, directly under the altar, was a huge nativity scene with large wooden figures, a stable, donkeys, the Holy Family, and the baby boy Jesus. Everyday believers and other persons seeking help and comfort came and lit candles. It smelled of incense and candle wax. It smelled indeed of Christmas. So I made up my way to the chapel, accompanied by Sebastian. It was a cold, grey, wet day. Not even a good day for ducks. It chilled us all, not only because of the bad weather. When we opened the heavy door to the chapel, we were greeted by the smell of candles and incense, as well as cold air. The chapel was not heated. And it was pretty dark. A few last candles flickered at the front of the altar. Now that Christmas was approaching, not many had come to light the candles. Everyone was on their way to their families. The chapel seemed cold. We walked to the front row of church benches. And then we saw a light blue bathrobe and a small hat lying on the very first bench, asleep. In both arms the beloved teddy bear Anton. Both were probably very cold, Anton and Lucas. We approached cautiously. I touched Lucas' head. He opened his eyes and looked at me with a sad, feverish, very sick expression. I said, "Lucas, why did you run away today? We still want to do chemo, so you can celebrate Christmas with your family, parents at home." Lucas, born into the light, the bringer of light for everybody who knew him, gave me an answer that I can't forget to this day. I was looking for Christmas. Did he find it? I don't know. He didn't survive Christmas. And I didn't become a pediatrician, but a general practitioner.